In Lesson 210, we are going to talk about the properties of triangles. You will need your whiteboard marker and eraser, and your math journal. So today we're going to warm up. As you know, we have been working on multiplication throughout Unit 2. So we're going to warm up with some extended facts. Would you please number 1, 2, and 3 on your whiteboard? I would like you to give me the product or the answer when you take 70 times 4, 20 times 6, and 80 times 5. Go ahead and pause your video and write the answers only. Number 1, 7 times 4 is 28 with 1 0 behind it. 2 times 6 is 12. Extend that fact with a 0 behind it. And 8 times 5 is 40, and add a 0 to get 400. What we're going to do is we're going to be working on triangles today, so it's important for us to remember different types of angles. And angles together are a part of triangles. So if you remember, an acute angle is less than 90 degrees. And here are several examples. I would like you to draw 3 different acute angles on your whiteboard. Go ahead and draw 3 angles that are less than 90 degrees. You might have drawn one that was really small, or one that looked closer to 90 degrees. These are all acute angles, and you can see the ones here, and their measurements all are less than 90 degrees. The next type of angle that we've talked about is obtuse. And remember, an obtuse angle is more than 90 but less than 180. And 180 degrees would be a straight line. So it is less than a straight line. Would you please draw 3 obtuse angles right now on your whiteboard? Go ahead and do that. Pause your video as needed. All right, so you might have drawn one that looks maybe something like this or something like this, but it has to be more than 90 degrees and not quite a straight line. And the last one we've talked about is a right angle, and we know that a right angle measures exactly 90 degrees, and there is a special symbol like a box in the corner to tell you that it measures exactly 90 degrees. So 90 degrees is rarely written in. We see that little corner symbol. So would you please draw 3 right angles on your whiteboard? Go ahead. Here are 3 right angles. Now what I'd like you to do is go ahead and erase your whiteboard. I told you that we would be talking about triangles, so I want you to list everything you know about triangles. You could number them, you could put little bullets, which are like little talking points. Write down everything you know about triangles. Go ahead and pause the video at this time. When I think about triangles, I know that they have 3 sides. I know that they have 3 angles. I know they have 3 vertices. If I draw a triangle, a vertice would be, if you think of the letter V, each of these corners where the 2 rays meet, make the letter V. Those are vertices. Those are things that make up triangles. Those are what we call properties of triangles. Now this is a special triangle. It is called a right triangle. And the way that we have a right triangle or name a right triangle is if it has one right angle. So the minute a triangle has a right angle, we call it a right triangle. So today we'll talk about 3 specific different types of triangles, and we're going to go ahead and work in our math journal. We are in lesson 210, so you're going to turn to journal page 57. Go ahead and open to journal page 57. The topic is properties of triangles. It says name an angle property of each triangle and circle any right angles. Then name the type of triangle. Well, here we just got done talking about a right triangle. We know that if it has one right angle, it is a right triangle. The next one that we'll mention is an acute triangle. If all angles are smaller than right angles, so in other words, they are all acute angles, then we call that an acute triangle. The last one is an obtuse triangle. If it has just one angle that is larger, or what we would say greater than a right angle, just one, we call that an obtuse triangle. So in your math journal on page 57, number 1 shows a triangle. And the first thing that I notice is this. That means there is one right angle. And therefore, we call that a right triangle. All it has to have is one. And what's the property? The fact that it has one right angle, that's the property that classifies it as a right triangle. Please make sure you are filling out everything in your math journal at the same time I am. So number 1 is a right triangle because it has one right angle. Moving on to number 2. Don't forget, we have this information to remind us what kinds of triangles that we are talking about today. So number 2, I see the vertices. This is an acute angle. This is an acute angle. But this one right here is bigger than 90. And it says for an obtuse triangle, if it has one angle that's larger than a right angle, it's called an obtuse triangle. So we would call this obtuse triangle. Now you have it spelled correctly in your math journal up at the top in the directions, so please make sure you spell it correctly. And the property is it has an angle. And I'm going to use the symbol greater than 90 degrees. It has an angle that is larger or greater than 90 degrees. So therefore, because it has one angle that's obtuse, the whole triangle is obtuse. Number 3. Here's a vertice. That's an acute angle. This is an acute angle, but I'm looking here. This is greater than 90 degrees, this angle. That's an obtuse angle, so therefore, because it has one angle that's larger than a right angle, it would be an obtuse triangle. All it needs is one, so go ahead and fill that in your math journal on page 57. What is the property that lets me know it's an obtuse triangle? Well, it has one angle that is larger than a right angle or 90 degrees. So its property is all it has to have is one angle that's larger than 90 degrees. Number 4, name an angle property for this one. So remember, here are the 3 different types of triangles that we're talking about today. Here's a vertex or an angle. That's smaller than 90, that's acute. Here's another vertex or an angle that is smaller than 90 degrees, that's an acute angle. And the third angle or vertex is also an acute. So because this has all angles that are smaller than a right angle, this would be called an acute triangle. Again, remember, it is your responsibility to be filling this out as you're watching the video. And the property is there are all acute angles. Therefore, it is an acute triangle. Remember, if I'm writing too quickly and you need to pause it, go ahead and do so. You have at least 30 to 45 minutes to complete this before our math group begins. Now at the bottom it says, now try your own. Draw a triangle and name a property and that type of triangle. I'll give you just a moment. Go ahead and pause the video and draw and name what type of triangle you have drawn in your math journal. And one last review. I have 6 triangles here. I'm going to ask you to point to the different types of triangles as I name them. So would you please touch on your iPad screen the acute triangles where all of the angles are less than right angles. Touch them with your finger. There should be 2 of them. Did you touch this one? And did you touch this one? Because they are all less than 90 degrees. So these are acute triangles. Let me go ahead and erase this. The next ones I want you to practice is, would you touch the triangles that are right triangles, meaning that they have just one angle that measures exactly 90 degrees. There should be 2 of them. Did you touch this one and did you touch this one? These are right triangles because each one has one angle that measures exactly 90 degrees. And lastly, the last type of triangle that we talked about is obtuse. Would you please touch the 2 obtuse triangles? Did you touch this one and this one? Because they each have one angle that measures greater than 90 degrees, the entire triangle is an obtuse triangle. So that is our lesson for today. Please go to your Schoology folder to see what you need to do to complete the rest of today's work.